Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Christina. I hope you're all doing well. Today I'm going to be discussing some unpopular opinions of yours. Because a couple days ago I posted a community post asking you guys about your unpopular vegan opinions. I also posted a similar post on Reddit, on the vegan subreddit. I got over 500 responses, so that's crazy. So I'm just gonna take a couple today, discuss them in this video. Maybe I'll make follow-up videos with different ones. But yeah, we're just gonna talk about it. Let's see how controversial you guys are. First, I'm gonna do some light-hearted ones before we get to the meaty stuff, pun intended. I don't understand why almond milk seems to be the most popular or best-selling plant-based milk. I don't necessarily dislike it, but every other plant milk tastes so much better in my opinion, and I will only choose almond milk if nothing else is available. Honestly, I agree with this. I don't know if a lot of people are on the same page, but I don't like almond milk at all. It was the first plant milk I ever tried when I was like 13, 14, and I thought it put me off of plant milk forever because it just, I don't know, it had like a, I haven't tried it in a while, but it had like a nutty taste. It was kind of bitter or something. I don't know. I much prefer soy milk or oat milk personally. But I mean, all the almond milk lovers, more power to you. Next unpopular opinion, you don't have to love animals to be vegan. You just need to respect them. True. Like, I wouldn't label myself an animal lover. I've never had a pet or something like that. Like, I might even get squeamish around certain animals, or like, not, I don't know how to like touch them or hold them, or like, I don't have much experience with that. I love them from a distance. But most of all, I respect them, obviously, because I don't pay to harm them. I think that's a big part of respect, is not paying to harm someone, at least. The next one is, no cheese is better than vegan cheese. It's plastic food. Even on pizza, I'd rather just have toppings and tomato sauce. Um, I mean, fair enough if you think so. I think some vegan cheese can be really good. There's this like Italian pizza and pasta restaurant in my city that like the cheese is amazing. And I've taken like meat eaters there, and they genuinely cannot tell the difference. It is the best thing ever. But like when it comes to store-bought vegan cheeses, I agree they're not quite very good. Unless you melt them, then they're fine. I very often eat like a grilled cheese sandwich. But otherwise, yeah. I accept all kinds. Meatless Mondays, that's better than meat on Mondays. Militant warrior who sabotages slaughterhouses, fucking A. I have love for anyone who even questions the awful status quo we have right now. Honestly, yeah, I mean, I'm not against Meatless Mondays, but obviously I don't think it should stop at Meatless Mondays. I think it's a good first step for people like who've never like not eaten meat for a day. But otherwise, like I think all approaches are necessary usually. And yeah, the direct action stuff, the militant stuff is also very necessary for systemic change and stuff. So yeah. I hate jackfruit. Why? I've had jackfruit a couple times. I've made it for myself a couple times. I've had it in a restaurant a couple times. I think it's really good if you prepare it well. If you prepare it well, it's like, it tastes just exactly like pulled, you know? Like pulled beef or whatever that's called. I don't even know the name anymore. I really like the texture of it, and you can just make it taste like anything. It's, in that case, it's just like tofu and stuff. So honestly, I disagree. There should be no animal testing for medical purposes. We have no right to torture and kill thousands of individuals to save humans. This is more controversial because when it comes to animal agriculture, what you're weighing against each other is like the life of an animal versus taste, pleasure, and habit, right? That's basically it. But when it comes to animal testing, you're weighing basically, although this is not really the case, a life against a life, theoretically, right? But the truth is that animal testing is not really effective when it comes to like testing human medication. Like for the most part, like if you test something on rats, like humans are not going to respond the same way or similarly. Obviously their interests and their well-being should 100% be considered in that, and I think we should probably test on humans consensually with compensation. I think that would be way better. Of course, there are probably other people who have thought of different ways to like solve this problem, different solutions. And I don't know that much about animal testing and practical solutions to very like authoritatively speak on this. Another controversial one, you should cut people out of your life who refuse to give up meat. It's hard. It's hard to live among people who won't give up animal products or like paying for animal cruelty. It is quite painful, especially when you've talked to them, explained to them why it's wrong, and they continue to do it, and even sometimes realize that they're selfish, but like don't care. Obviously, you don't have to be close to that person anymore, but it's not that you have to stop interacting altogether. But it's like it's complicated, honestly. We're talking about people who are like directly harming other individuals for no reason, for their own pleasure, basically. And even when they know that this is what's happening, they won't stop. Of course, that's despicable behavior. The same as with racism and misogyny and transphobia and homophobia, all of that. And it's just like, if you know that you're harming someone, you should stop. you know? Some people won't do that. I'm not asking you to be close to those people. Just cut them out of your life if you want to, but I don't know. It's a hard question. It's a hard question. Another one about animal testing. Animal testing is not vegan, never, under any circumstances. Looking at you, Just Egg and Impossible Foods. Yeah, I don't know enough about the practice of animal testing within like Just Egg and Impossible Foods, but if they're doing that, then I wouldn't call them a vegan company. They could still do a lot better, and we should hold them accountable for that, honestly. Like, there's no problem with holding companies accountable, even if on the surface they seem to be aligned with your values. I would make animal agriculture illegal. I would too. I think I would make animal murder illegal in the same way that I would make human murder illegal, because we're talking about giving animal rights. We're talking about giving animals rights in the same way that humans have rights, just like simple negative rights, like the right to life, the right to bodily autonomy, the right to freedom. Yeah, I would make that illegal in a heartbeat. Like, it's the same with human murder. It might not stop everyone from murdering, but it sure as hell helps. Buying old leather from thrift stores is not that deep. Yeah, like there are different views on this. I think on this matter, I'm more on the like the utilitarian, like consequentialist side, that since it's not directly harming an animal by purchasing it, it is already like it's secondhand, right? But I don't think you're violating animals' rights by buying used leather or used wool or stuff like that. The only thing that might be problematic about it is that it might be normalizing it in society, and other people will look at you and what you're wearing and be like, oh, I want that too, but they don't know that it's thrifted, right? So in that way, it like indirectly creates demand, but that's hard to measure. I don't know how accurate that is. Personally, I wouldn't really have much of a problem with it, although I don't really have much of an interest in it either. Nutritional yeast doesn't taste anything like cheese. Um, I don't really have an opinion on this because, shocker, I've never had nutritional yeast before. I don't know what it tastes like. Someone tell me if I should try it. I mean, I should probably try it. If it does taste like a bit like cheese, or at least like salty or something, like I've heard people putting it all over like every meal that they eat. Is it really that good? Please tell me in the comments. It's not vegan watching non-vegan cooking shows. You're creating a demand for the YouTuber or production team to create more animal-based recipes. Is it, though? I never thought about that, actually. Like, as a viewer, you create demand for the kind of TV shows and stuff that you watch. But the thing is, like, every TV show is non-vegan. That's the problem. Like, there might be, like, people eating meat in a scene in a random show you're watching. Should you then stop watching that show? Like, I get with cooking shows with animal products make me uncomfortable. I tend not to watch them, but then I'm watching it with my family and I talk about like, oh, this is how you could veganize this dish, right? And I do think we should have more vegan cooking shows. I think one might already exist, or like a few, but I haven't really heard of them. Let me know if there are any. That would be really cool. The age-old bivalves question. I'm recently not fully convinced that mussels and oysters are off the menu, as they don't have a central nervous system, don't feel pain, and don't seem to be having an experience. If anyone wants to explain otherwise to me, I'm totally open to it. I haven't tried them yet because I want to be 100% certain. Obviously, anything cooked in fish sauce would be off the menu, but it's intriguing to maybe consider eating oysters and mussels. Yeah, this is a difficult question. I don't think we've fully like discovered all the truth of this like scientifically, because I think the consensus, I'm pretty sure, let me know if this is wrong, but the consensus right now, I think, is that they're not sentient, that bivalves are not sentient. And the thing is that vegans care about sentience, not the arbitrary label of if someone or something is an animal or not, right? I do think veganism is all about sentience. And if bivalves are not sentient, then technically they would be on the menu, right? But I think it's a gray area. I wouldn't judge you if you do eat bivalves, but I personally wouldn't because I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, just in case, like, in the future, it turns out that they do have sentience, or like something is similar to us, right? Because I think they have nerve ganglia or something, right? But they don't have a nervous system or a brain, so that's the complicated part of it. I would say give them the benefit of the doubt. Yeah. I believe going to McDonald's for their vegan burgers while getting upset online about factory farming online is kind of hypocritical. This is the whole thing about like capitalist veganism, I guess. Whether we should support companies like fast food companies like McDonald's and Burger King and KFC, support their vegan products or not, because technically you'd still be supporting a company that does a lot of harm because their whole brand is focused around animal products. Like I personally still sometimes, like if I need something quick, I might go like through a Burger King to get like a vegan Whopper. I don't know how sophisticated their like supply and demand chain is. Like if I buy a vegan burger, do they notice that there like one more vegan burger was bought that day, was purchased that day, right? And then does that create demand for more vegan burgers to be made? But I do think that Burger King is moving towards that, to more plant-based food. They even opened like fully plant-based restaurants in Germany, I think. And I think that's the future. I think that would be really cool. Like, a lot of people eat there. Like if it were to become fully vegan, that would be huge. That would be amazing. But we can't do that if we just boycott it altogether. Having children is not vegan. Now, this is the whole antinatalist thing. I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about this, to be honest. Because the whole idea is like, why would you bring someone into the world if it's guaranteed that they're gonna experience suffering, right? And I think especially like David Benatar talks about like the inequality of like suffering to pleasure. But in your life, in a life as a human, you experience proportionally like more suffering than you do pleasure, and you feel the suffering more intensely than you do the pleasure, right? I don't know how accurate that is or if I would agree with that. It depends, but definitely life is filled with a lot of suffering and sadness and you know, it sucks sometimes. And I do wonder, like, is it ethical to bring someone into this world if it's guaranteed that they're going to experience those things? And obviously, it's much better than it used to be, like in the Middle Ages and like before modern medicine and stuff. But it's still like, it's a bit of a moral question. I don't know where I stand on it. Like personally, I don't want to have biological children. I would like to adopt in like not anytime soon. I'm very young, but like when I'm ready for that. But that's more because of personal reasons. Like I don't want to push a child out of my body. No thanks. But I don't know if I'm against the idea of having kids. I do think it might be inherently selfish for just a little bit. I wouldn't call someone a selfish person for having kids, but I would say it's kind of a selfish act because like you want to continue your bloodline. Because sometimes I ask people like, oh, why do you want biological kids? Why don't you want to adopt? And they're like, oh, well, I just want my kids to have my blood and like a blood bond or whatever. And it's just, it feels a bit weird to me. And it's like, you don't really need to have your genes passed on. That's not that important in the grand scheme of things. Like, if you can love someone and take care of them, that's really all that matters. You don't have to be left-wing to be vegan. It's important to be healthy on a vegan diet. Being unhealthy vegan isn't good for the movement or your health. I also have mixed opinions on this because I would say I eat relatively healthily. I think I'm pretty healthy. I might eat some fried stuff once in a while. I might go to Burger King once in a while. But I guess some people might say, like, if you're too skinny or too fat as a vegan, it might give a bad impression to non-vegans that veganism is inherently unhealthy. I don't think that matters. But I do think that there is data to show that vegans are, like, across the board, they're healthier than regular omnivores. So I think that's already the case. I think we're, like, generally healthier. But the thing is, like, if you're a junk food vegan, that also looks more accessible to junk food non-vegans, right? And I think it's fine. I think we should have like a variety of think we should have a variety of vegan diets, like vegan lifestyles present in the vegan movement, so it looks accessible to every kind of person, right? And every kind of person feels represented in some way, or like they would be able to become vegan. I think that's important. And the first one was, you don't have to be left-wing to be vegan. I agree, you don't have to be. I think veganism is very compatible with left-wing ideas, also with anti-capitalism and stuff, and just like being anti-oppression in general. I think that really meshes well. But I think you could definitely be conservative and vegan, right-wing and vegan. That's totally possible. And now I'm gonna go through the YouTube comments on my community post. Pig's Dream said, calling carnivores is not vegan, eating animals is not vegan. These are two different ones. First, calling carnivores, I think they mean like the idea, I think Vegan Gains has that idea too, that it would be better like in nature to like kill the predators and let the prey just be able to live their lives free of harm, right? I don't think we should interfere in that. I think first we should focus on the harm that we are directly already inflicting on animals. Although like it's hard to say. Like I think a world in which predators did not exist would be better than a world like the world that we already live in. But it's complicated. I don't know if we should interfere. I don't know how that would work. I don't have enough information, so I'm not gonna give my opinion on this. And then eating animals is not vegan. I think they mean like because of course we agree that eating animals is not vegan, but I think they mean also with roadkill and stuff like that, maybe dumpster diving. I would say it's a gray area. I would personally not do it, also because it's not hygienic, but I don't have a moral problem with eating roadkill or stuff like that. Jeremy Gord, friend of the channel, says, we should withhold our votes from any politician who supports animal ag subsidies or party that supports it in their platform, rather than voting lesser of two evils in strictly human-centered issues, and we should let them know why. I think I mostly agree with this, but the thing is, again, I think I'm biased because of my personal situation, because in the Netherlands, we have a party that's called Party for the Animals, and it's basically a vegan party. Like, it has a couple seats in parliament. It's not, like, but it is small, and I do think every vegan should vote for such a party if it exists in their country, and I would never vote otherwise. I don't think telling people not to vote in that case is really the solution. Like, if there is no such, like, a vegan party in their country, I think either like you can start one, or you can like email your politicians and ask them their thoughts about veganism, if they would ever implement it in their political program. I don't know, something like that. I do want people to be politically engaged regardless of that. I do think human issues are also important, but of course, like, animals really deserve their interest represented in the political sphere, and I'm very sad that in most places it is not at all. But yeah, interesting question. No Injustice Lasts Forever says, we should not be celebrating when restaurants remove items like foie gras from their menus. We should not be showing welfareism footage without clear abolitionist message. These are two separate things, I think. The thing of foie gras, I've engaged in foie gras protests in my city, and one restaurant took it off the menu. We were quite happy, but we realized it's not the end-all be-all of the problem. It's only a symptom of the problem, really, and I think it's only one kind of activism that you could do. It's definitely, I don't think it's the most effective one, like on a systemic level, or like on a changing minds level, it's also not necessarily effective. But I do think it's worth something. You know, I do think it has value. It has a very different kind of value. But I do agree definitely with the second part, is that welfareism is not it. Welfareism is not it. And animal rights, the animal rights movement, and veganism should always be abolitionist in nature, because otherwise we'll never get what we want, you know? We'll never do the animals justice if we advocate for any less than they deserve. Not sure if this is unpopular among vegans, but we should actively use words like Holocaust, rape, slavery, murder. Important though is that it must be accompanied with footage like Dominion, so people can't just dismiss it when they see the literal gas chambers, non-consensual penetration of animals, and decapitations. These words are accurate descriptors, which is good enough justification to use them in itself, but they can also cut straight through the bullshit to get them to take the issue seriously. It's a lot harder for someone to whip out plants feel pain though, or food chain though, when they're witnessing the Holocaust in front of them. I agree. I agree. I think it's fine. It's okay to use those words, but you need to have the footage to back it up. I think in the moment. Otherwise, people can just be like, no, that's not true. That's bullshit. I think, like, if you're doing outreach with someone and someone's being a little defensive or a little, like, aggressive or something, you show them the footage and you're like, what does this look like to you? And then you can use those words. Does this look like this to you? Does this look like that to you? Is this a Holocaust, right? Because it's objectively, it's the same thing, just with different victims, right? So I would say I agree. I do think the footage is very important in the instance of using those terms. I think it might be a sensitive territory for a lot of people. You don't need to use those terms in most cases of outreach. It depends on the person. I would say go for it if you want to. I think it's definitely well deserved. I believe the biggest issue we have to face is that consuming animal products is a habit. I know a lot of people who acknowledge the issue with animal agriculture but still consider abstaining from it to be a virtue rather than buying animal products to be an actual problem. Yeah, I would say yeah, because people think that vegans think they're superior, and we're only superior in a technical sense, that we're abstaining from a type of harm that most people engage in, right? And that's not a virtuous thing to do. That's a moral baseline. Not harming someone is a moral baseline. Helping someone would be virtuous. And I think the activism that we do is to some level virtuous, I guess. But just abstaining from animal products is not a virtue. It's a moral baseline. And I wish other people, non-vegans, would see it like that once they understand. But many people are like, well, I mean, you're doing a great thing, but I couldn't do it. I'm just too attached. It's just a habit for me and I'm selfish. And it's just like, yeah, well, that sucks. Why would you say that? Anyway, I really don't like those people at all. Turning Veganese says, veganism is not about overthrowing capitalism. Capitalism is not the enemy, and in fact, it will help us achieve total animal liberation. This is an interesting one. Leftist vegans often say, like, oh, capitalism is the main problem, right? But I think they're separate problems. I think you could still have animal exploitation under a communist system. That has happened, at least what was called a communist system, but was not technically a truly communist system, I guess, in like Russia and in China and stuff. But they're 100% separate problems. And the thing is that we can utilize the system of capitalism to overthrow things like animal agriculture and things that oppress animals, right? Systems that oppress animals. Because the system is supply and demand in nature and we have a voice as consumers, right? And I think that's definitely how it's going to end up going, and we need to use the system that we have to our advantage while we cannot change it. Rick Grimes says, the vegan society definition of veganism needs to be canned. It's too ambiguous and mentions nothing of animal rights. Veganism should be seen as treating animal rights as a logical extension of human rights. So this is the Vegan Gains definition, the logical extension of human rights. I mostly adhere to that. I really like that as a definition because it's really putting humans and animals like on a similar wavelength. It's like, well, because humans have these traits and animals have these traits as well, they should be given the same negative rights. They should be given the right to life and the right to bodily autonomy, the right to not be harmed, you know, all of these things. I think that really makes sense to state veganism as a logical extension of human rights. My problem with the vegan society definition is definitely the, as far as is possible and practicable part. I don't think that's necessary. I don't think that's necessary at all. I do like how it talks about exploitation, first of all, but it doesn't mention animal rights. It doesn't mention veganism as the struggle for animal rights, because it is inherently like a justice movement, a social justice movement, in the same way that feminism and anti-racism were. And what we want is literally rights, like legal rights for animals. That's what we want, and that should be present in the definition. The animal rights movement, whether we like it or not, is doomed to fail. Humans as a whole aren't meant to empathize with species outside our own. Empathy for other animals would have likely prevented survival, given that the only way humans survived is by destroying other animals, Regardless of morality or whether it's necessary or not now, humans do not instinctively want to protect animals. It's a myth that humans don't enjoy animal suffering. Just look at how many viewers nature documentaries pull in. Watch the reactions to footage or photos of apex predators killing their prey. There's a good reason why The Lion King is adored by audiences and why people cheer when Bambi's mom is shot. People cheer when Bambi's mom is shot? What? Really? It's been a while since I've watched that movie, but that scene is so sad. Like, people cry, right? Am I crazy? What this person is arguing is that humans are cruel by nature, and I don't know if I agree or disagree with that. I do think it's kind of a pessimistic take. I don't think pessimism is always incorrect, but I don't think it matters whether it's in our nature to be cruel, because we could say that about human murder. Like, we've murdered each other, we've hurt each other for so long, and we still do. But there are still ways to circumvent that and to change our legal system to go against our own nature in that case. I think that is what we should do. And once we have enough people to do that, I do think the animal rights movement could be effective on a systematic level, and politically as well. But yeah, I don't know. I think humans are probably neutral in nature, although it's complicated. I don't really have an opinion on it, or a very strong opinion on it. I don't want to be pessimistic though. I don't know if that's naive or innocent of me. It could be. Please call me out in the comments if that's the case. But yeah, I like to look at the bright side sometimes. And I'm gonna end on a very, like, the worst one, the most controversial one, okay? Please prepare yourself. Tofu is incredibly overrated. It's got a weird texture no matter how you cook it, and the aftertaste is disgusting. Pretty much any other vegan protein is better than tofu. That hurt me. That hurt me. I love tofu. I will defend it, okay? I never tried tofu before I was vegan. Now it's one of my favorite things to cook, because you can make it taste like anything. You can make it taste like anything. You can make it like good and crispy. So good. You can put it in the oven, in the pan, just anything. I also love seitan. I do think it's almost as good as, it does have a different texture to it than tofu. I like them pretty much equally, although I eat tofu more often. I don't like tempeh, but I've eaten that the least. So if anyone has any good tempeh recipes, please let me know. But yeah, shame on you, tofu hater. Anyway, those are the popular opinions for today. Please go fight. Please go fight in the comments. That's what this video is for. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Please leave a like, subscribe, comment, leave all of your thoughts down below. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next video. Have a good day.